Hello, I'm Andi Aigner, your host, and this is Legacy Lens, a podcast where physicians get clarity, confidence, and a grounded perspective on the financial and emotional realities of practicing medicine. Today's episode cuts straight to one of the biggest misconceptions about physicians and lawsuits. Most generalist advisors think physicians fear litigation because of money. Clearly, nobody wants to lose money, physicians included. But physicians don't fear losing money as much as they fear losing the dignity of being seen as a good doctor. A malpractice suit isn't just a legal event. It's a human event. And if you don't understand the human side, you'll never understand the impact on the person. This is Legacy Lens, episode 20. What generalist advisors get wrong about physicians and lawsuits. Let's dive into it. The myth many advisors believe. Generalist advisors often assume malpractice fear is about payouts, premiums, or asset protection only. But for physicians, a lawsuit threatens something far deeper. Their identity as healer, their reputation, the currency of medicine, their confidence, the clinical tool they rely on, the sense of safety, the ability to practice without doubt. Here's a real story. Dr. Steve, a general surgeon, once told me, and I quote, "I wasn't afraid of losing money. I was afraid of losing the belief that I'm a good surgeon." His case was dismissed. It left a scar. The scar wasn't on his record. It was on his confidence. To understand the emotional cost, you must understand what a lawsuit is. A lawsuit isn't about bad outcomes. It's about proving four things: duty, breach, harm, causation. Bad outcomes happen every day, even when the physician did everything right. Here's a real story. Dr. Frank, in emergency medicine, treated his patient with textbook care. The patient died. A month later, he was served papers. He told me, "I had to defend my judgment to people who weren't there, didn't feel the clinical intensity of the moment, and didn't understand the medicine." That's the emotional tax, the quiet, lasting impact that shapes how physicians feel long after the legal process ends. The vulnerability physicians carry. According to the American Medical Association, malpractice exposure is a near universal part of practicing medicine. But the AMA statistics don't tell the whole story. They don't capture the emotional tax Dr. Frank described, the weight of defending good medicine to people who weren't in the room, didn't feel the urgency, and didn't understand the clinical reality. Here's what AMA data shows. 29% of physicians have been sued. 45% for physicians over 55, and even higher for procedural specialties. The real story isn't the statistics. It's the constant exposure physicians feel. Every complication, every unexpected outcome, every shift. Here's a real story. Dr. Maria, an OBGYN, said, "Every delivery is a miracle. Every delivery is also a potential lawsuit." She wasn't being dramatic. She was being honest. Parents arrive with hope, expectations, and the belief that their child will enter the world perfect. And when anything falls short of that ideal, even if the physician did everything right, families look for answers. Sometimes those answers turn into accusations. Sometimes those accusations turn into lawsuits. Generalist advisors see risk. Physicians feel their vulnerability. And even when the legal system says the physician did nothing wrong, the emotional pain remains. And for many doctors, that lingering weight becomes the real damage. Dr. Vicky Rackler said it best. Even when you win, you lose. A physician can win the case. No negligence, no payment, no stain on their record, and still lose something far more personal: time, sleep, confidence, peace, trust in themselves. Here's a real story. Dr. Manuel, a cardiologist, won his case, but he told me, I practiced scared for 2 years. I second-guessed everything. Winning didn't feel like winning. He couldn't talk about the case while it was happening. Not to colleagues, not to friends, not even to his spouse. The silence became its own punishment. He felt watched. He felt judged. He felt like every decision he made was being replayed in an imaginary courtroom. And the worst part? He lost confidence in the very thing that made him a great physician, his judgment. A surgeon once described it this way. After my lawsuit, I paused before picking up the scalpel. The pause wasn't clinical, it was fear. Winning didn't restore Dr. Manuel's confidence. It didn't erase the fear. It didn't undo the emotional damage. It took time. It took support. It took rebuilding. And it took someone who understood the world he lived in. If the emotional toll is heavy, the silence around it makes that weight almost unbearable. The isolation nobody talks about. When a doctor is sued, the first instruction given by the defense team is simple. Don't talk about it. So the doctors don't. Here's a real story. Dr. Thomas, a neurologist, created a small consulting group, each physician paying the others $1 to establish a protected relationship. The dollar changed everything. For the first time, they could speak freely about the fear, the shame, and the emotional fallout they had been carrying alone. They talked about the moment they were served, the nights they couldn't sleep, the way they replayed every decision, the guilt, the loneliness. And something remarkable happened. They all started to realize a truth. Good doctors get sued. Careful doctors get sued. Compassionate doctors get sued. It's not a reflection of you. It's a reality of medicine. One physician said, I walked in feeling defective. I walked out feeling normal and understood. Another said, I didn't realize how much the silence was crushing me until I finally spoke. The group didn't erase the lawsuits. It erased the isolation. And then there's the part nobody warns physicians about, the financial targeting. Insiders call that the wallet biopsy. Before taking a case, attorneys evaluate insurance, asset, future earnings. Physicians know they are targets not because they did something wrong, but because they're worth suing. This shapes everything: spending, saving, risk tolerance, practice, ownership, retirement timing, even specialty choice. Doctors aren't optimizing income, they're optimizing for safety. So what do physicians need? Not platitudes, not fear, not silence. They need a framework that keeps them safe emotionally, clinically, and financially. What physicians need to protect their emotional well-being? Number one, know your coverage code. Most of the fear around malpractice comes from uncertainty, not from the medicine itself. When physicians understand the coverage, clearly the emotional temperature drops. That means knowing claims made versus occurrence and what each protects. Tail coverage, when you need it, what it costs, and who pays for it. Policy limits, what's covered, what isn't, and where the gaps live. Employer coverage, what's included, what's excluded, and what's assumed. Clarity reduces fear because it replaces the unknown with structure. When you know exactly how you protect it, you stop imagining worst-case scenarios that aren't real. Number two, build a personal safety net. Physicians don't need financial protection. They need emotional margin. A safety net absorbs shock so the physicians don't have to. That includes cash reserves that create breathing room during uncertainty, disability coverage that protects your earning power if life changes suddenly, life insurance that protects your family and reduces emotional strain, asset protection that shields what you've built from legacy exposure, support systems, personal, relational, emotional, that help you stay grounded. Protection isn't just about money. It's about stability. It's about confidence. It's about knowing that if something goes wrong, your life doesn't fall apart. Protection absorbs shock so you can keep practicing medicine without carrying fear into every decision. Number 3, document like your future self depends on it. Let me read that again. Document like your future self depends on it, because it does. Documentation becomes your only voice when you can't speak freely, your memory when details fade, your defense when judgment is questioned. Physicians often say, I didn't realize my documentation was written for my future self, not my present one. Good to make documentation doesn't just protect your clinical decisions. It protects your emotional well-being by giving your confidence that your reasoning, your judgment, and your integrity are preserved exactly as they happen. Number 4, build a circle of trust. Silence is toxic. Isolation is dangerous. Physicians need people who can hold emotional weight without adding to it. That means having someone who understands the stakes, stays steady when you're overwhelmed, keeps perspective when fear spikes, sees you as a whole person, not just a physician role. Because when physicians finally have that kind of support, something shifts. They describe the impact simply. I finally exhaled. I didn't feel defective anymore. I realized I wasn't alone. I felt like myself again. A circle of trust doesn't remove the pressure. It makes the pressure survivable. Number 5, separate your identity from your outcomes. This is simple advice, but many times difficult to implement. Bad outcomes happen to good doctors. Your identity is built on values, not verdicts. Physicians need to say, this case is part of my experience, not the definition of my career. When you anchor your identity to who you are, not what happened, you reclaim your confidence, your dignity, and your emotional stability. Number 6, create a financial plan that assumes reality, not perfection. Physicians don't live in a world of perfect outcomes. They live in a world of exposure, uncertainty, and high-stake decisions. Your plan needs to reflect that. A reality-based plan accounts for unpredictability, protects against emotional and financial shocks, creates a structure around the parts of medicine you can't control, gives you clarity when everything else feels uncertain, restores confidence when fear tries to take over. Legacy Lens builds plan for the world physicians practice in, a world defined by exposure, pressure, and unpredictability. Plans that steady judgment, strengthen confidence, and protect your future in a profession where perfection is impossible and vulnerability is constant. If today's episode resonated with you, if you're carrying fear, pressure, or uncertainty around malpractice or the emotional weight of practicing medicine, you don't have to carry it alone. I'm Andi Aigner, and this is Legacy Lens. If you're ready for clarity, structure, and support, schedule a conversation. Let's talk about what you need, what you're facing, and how to protect your confidence in future. Because you deserve to feel secure, prepared, and grounded, no matter what the world of medicine throws your way. Thank you.